everyone, this is Elizabeth, and today we are gonna make some Halloween cards. I made an army. So this is a retired Creative Vision Stamps. The whole company is retired, which is really sad because I just found them this year and they retired this year. I know, it's so sad. But I bought this knowing I was going to use it for Halloween this year, okay? And because it was way earlier in the year when I found these. And I've got little nieces and nephews, and I thought, how fun would it be to make the card using one or two and then giving them the other, because it's a 4-piece set. So you get the bat, the dinosaur, the candy cane, and the raccoon. Okay, so that's your 4 to the set. And I thought, we'll make the card with one or two and then give them the extra pieces to play with. And then I was thinking, how am I going to do this? Because, you know, they're kind of big pieces. So in order, how do I want to do this? So my thought process was, I knew I was using them. I didn't make these until after I decided how I was going to use them. And to get into that mindset, I first start off with the size. I knew these were a little bit bigger pieces, okay? So I knew I was going to need a bigger platform to play on. Because even though this is 5 by 7, I take a 1/2 inch off of each side so that I can have a nice border. And we are then down to 5, or no, so it's a 5 by 7, so 6.5 by 4.5. Okay, so we cut our size down for a nice frame around that. So the size of the card, and then what I want to do. So basically, I put the stamps on here, you know, and lay them out and decide what I'm going to do. And that's when I was going through all my stuff. I pull out all my Halloween stuff. It's not a ton, okay? And when I went to my folder to find these guys, I grabbed my little cheat sheet that says which companies I have that have Halloween. I pulled out my Hampton Arts, Brutus Monroe, Recollections, Creative Visions. Everybody's got Halloween stamps. And as I was pulling them out, I noticed this little one and was like, ooh, what if this is in the background and it's a hill and they're like going trick-or-treating? So I pulled that guy. And this set also came with this, which I thought was a really clever. So you can have a teeny one, or you can stencil yourself a nice big one. This alone would make a fabulous front of the card. Where did my card front go? Here. Okay, so you could have a card. Got my little stickies everywhere. You could have a card front just ink blended with this on it, and that would be fabulous. You know, or do this with a little critter. So then I was going through making sure, you know, this set I'm going to play with too, and pulling out anything that was Halloween and having visually everything available. And then there's the home for this little set. And then his little cutter pieces go back in there. So I've got all of this stuff out. And I'm like, okay, I liked the house. So I put the house on there. Then I've got the stamps for these guys. And I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm like, well, this needs to go on a hill. And then I originally had 3 on here. And I'm like, this needs like a hill in front of it, so it has a separation. And as soon as I thought that, I was like, oh, what if he could move behind the hill? Okay. And as I'm thinking that, moving them across, I was like, oh wait, I watched a video and I don't remember who it was. They did a makeshift spinner. So they had a little bit on there that spun around. So I'm like, okay, what if we put the little bat up there and then a walker across the bottom and just condense it down to 2, right? Sounds fun. So I did a little experimenting, okay? Because I have my idea. I have the walking and then the spinning. Oops, we don't want that part yet, okay? Their little spinner part. So I kind of stamped it out. I stamped it with the house. I colored it in with some green ink and did some, this was supposed to be gray, but I had too much green. And then I drew a couple of trees next to my house. And at this point, I knew the green was not right for this card. Okay, so I'll explain what I chose there. And as I'm playing with this part, you know, I'm trying to figure out the best ways to do that. So I've got several cuts. The first one I made was this big gaping hole. And then I was like, oh, I really don't need to do that. Okay, and this is the first slider I made. I took the slider piece and wrapped it around this big bar and closed it so then we could attach a thing to it. I'm like, no, that's not gonna work. It's too tight. So then I made another one with a longer piece that would go over, but then it would hug the smaller bar. And so we're gonna work on that. And then when it's taped shut, oops, I put it in upside down, but your little critter would be attached to this, and then you can move it like this and up and down a little bit. It's a lot smoother than this one was. There was just not enough room between the tape and the opening for movement. So we're basically going to do this design, just a longer piece of it. And then to get this part in there, we do pop dots on one end where before the stop of the critter, because we don't want him to run across and hit the bat. So we have a stopping point, okay? You can see I made it a little bit too long on the bottom one. So you pop it up on one end really well, and then you'll pop it up on the other end so there's plenty of room, okay? And here I did a hill shape, but then I thought it might be interesting to do a cloud shape. So I'm still in debate over the cover piece. Hopefully it'll come to me towards the end of the video when we're finishing this up. And to do this piece is really, really easy. You just do a back piece, a pop dot, and then the front piece. Now, in order to make that hole, I took my die cut, okay, and I knew that the hole had to be smaller than what this takes up, okay? So I just cut out a little hole right there. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then you get a pop dot that fits in the hole. So the hole could be smaller and just have a little bit of room. I would recommend a nice sturdy pop dot. These ones are my cheapy pop dots. You buy the cheapy ones to play around to get ideas. So this was my first design. It's just playing around, getting it all set up, which I think I have the mechanisms down. It's just this part that I really want to work on. And then I wanted to color this spooky, okay? So what I did is I Googled spooky scenery. And then an image popped up of a person like in a town where it's all hazed over and it's a yellowy sky. There's some purpley color in here, and then it goes to a dark here. There's a tree here that's super dark and it takes up a good chunk of area here. But the moon or sun is hanging out here really bright. So I was like, okay, I want to try that. So I did the grays with the blue overlay. I did some yellow. And I went straight down with a purplish color. And then tried to put a little bit gray over it. And it didn't quite work right. This stamp... Whoops. Oh, there it is. So this stamp, okay, it doesn't come with the tree. I'm going to show you how to draw this. Super easy. I love trees because you don't need a steady hand. You just need to draw a trunk with some squiggles. And then you got yourself some trees. But I thought it definitely needed a tree. Okay. And then I was like, okay, I got to work on this because this is crap. So then, voila! This is what I came up with. So I'm going to have my little stamp up here. And we stamp this first, okay? And we don't mind that the color gets into the windows. See, I left the color in the windows. I just accented it with a little white gel pen. Because, you know, windows reflect what's outside. So that was all right for me. And then this area I need to do in reverse. I was like, okay, I want my sun here. Well, I colored it in instead of coloring around. I should have left it more white. So this is kind of in reverse. So we need to reverse it the right way. And then I drew in a simple tree. And again, I'll show you how to do that. These are super basic trees. And then here I took the dark ink, or not dark ink, the gray ink, and I swooshed it across and then down to make a hill. Okay, after I did the yellows and this. And then I've tried to follow this little brightness and leave that open. I got a little heavy-handed there. And then we went around with the gray, over the top with a dark blue, okay? And then in the end, we'll even make these even more dark and rich so that it's more of a vignette and it will frame it in. And then we'll put our 2 cut lines so that we can do our little dude. And then we will do a little circle so that we can have our spinning critter up here, okay? Just hanging out, chilling up here. Now, if you don't have flying critters and you only have walking critters, you don't have to have this set. You can use anything. I could stamp these out, fussy cut them, and walk them across. Or maybe this one only goes up and down, so it's a short bit, and you can move him up and down like he's jumping for joy. I could stamp and cut this guy out. And maybe he's spinning because he's doing cartwheels. Okay. Same thing with the cat. Maybe your cat walks across. Here's one with no body. So maybe we get him in a landscape like this with a lot of clouds. Or maybe a bush. And then he could pop out of the bush. So hopefully what I show you is, it's super basic. And you can change it to fit your card, okay? Or if you have a regular bat, this one here, you might do a border. So you fussy cut this out, then put it on another piece and give it a little bit bigger border. So you can put a pop dot behind it and the hole would just be smaller. And then he could spin around there. Or put it on an action wobbler, okay? So we're going to focus on this and get this inked up. It shouldn't take too long because I've got it planned out. The planning process is the longest process aside from coloring all these bits. But I've got, you know, 4 nieces and nephews and 1 BB one, but she's not getting one like this. She'll get something a little more simpler because she's 1. So she doesn't need the extra bits to play with. And I'm going to put you on pause, clean this up, and we're going to have a 5x7 card, a 5x7 base, and then a I need to chop it up, the minus the 1/2 inch on both sides, the working area. This piece here, okay, which is, see, I don't know what this is, 6, should be 6.5. Yeah, it's 6.5 by 4.5. 6.5 by 4.5 is our working area. Okay, so if you want to get following along, go ahead and hit pause, and we'll have the 5x7 card, 5x7 this, 4.5 by 6.5 playing area. When you're doing all of your chopping, these are bits you're going to save, okay? So when I slice my paper down to make this, you're going to hang on to this. You will need at least 1 or 2 focus pieces, okay? If you do not have a house, don't worry. You can use the trees that I draw and do several trees, and then just have it be like a little forest, and we'll still use this hillside technique, okay? So go ahead and hit pause, and I will be right back with you. All right, so I cut 2 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper, and this particular way I wound up with these extra bits, because I cut one sheet one way and then turn around and cut it the other way. Don't throw your scraps away. These are great sentiment strips right here. They're a good size, okay? This you could cut down, it's a 4x6. I mean, that could be a base. You just have a bigger border on that, or make a 4x6 card. And then this little piece we will probably use as either the cloud or the whatnot, the part to hide the mechanism, okay? So don't chuck those. I have a bin right where I sit that I put all of my little spare parts into. So I've got 4 panels that are the 4.5 by 6.5, okay? Those panels are going to sit on top of whatever type of Halloween paper, solid paper, glitter paper, a back color, okay? So that's going to be just like that, and that's going to go on our 5x7 base, okay? So let's get inky, yeah? Does that sound fun? For this project, if you're going to follow along, you want something in the reds, purple. If you don't have purple, you can mix blue and red right on your craft mat, okay? Because you're going to be applying these with a brush or an ink sponge, so you can mix your own color. A gray, okay? A bright yellow. I'm using 3 yellows. You can literally use 1 yellow and muck it up a little bit with the gray, and doing it a super light-handed, and then build up the color. If you only have 1, go for one of these 2, one of the middle of the roads yellow, okay? And then I'm using a dark blue. If you don't have a dark blue, a lighter blue will be fine. You would just be heavier on the gray, because this blue is going to go on the gray at all times. So you only get really a hint of it anyways. So they're mostly, aside from this one, that's going to be the center of our moon or sun. All of them are kind of in the same tonal value. They're kind of deeper colors. So that's what you're looking for, a deep color palette to go for this smoky, hazy effect that we're going to try to accomplish again. All right, so the very first thing we do is we need some gray, and figure out what I'm going to do. And then I also forgot, I pulled these guys out of another set. They're just some bats, so I'm probably going to stamp some bats on it too. So we've got our little house. Now you can use your stamping platform. Oh, I just did the wrong color. The very first one I did was in that, but we need it black. We need it black. Okay. So depending on what you're doing, if you're going to color in Copics or anything alcohol based, do not use this one. Alcohols are a solvent. You mix them with a solvent, they blend. But because my background is going to be a water-based image, because these are water-based blending, I don't want it to move, so I'm going to use the StazOn. For these guys, I use the Memento. Okay, same company. These two blacks are basically all you really need. Watercolor items, alcohol items. Okay, so these I used for those guys. So we're gonna pop open the StazOn, and I just recently inked it up. Ooh, ah, boogers. Gotta love when that happens, especially. No worries though. We just clean our mess. Okay, make sure that's not gonna run anywhere. Okay, and then whoop, all better. Haha. Okay, so we're gonna ink up our little stamp, and I'm doing light. I would rather do more tapping than do one heavy press. Okay, light tapping, you can get a better coverage on these smaller items. If you're finding it's not getting covered, do a swipe, and then tap, okay? Because the swiping will help really push it in a little bit, and it's not a heavy swipe. It's the same as our tapping. It's nice and gentle, but you can do a swipe to get the color to adhere a little bit better. And then nice gentle tapping, make sure everybody's covered. Okay, there's a little mark there, but I think that's there. And then we're gonna go down. Now I want to on the hill because our critter's gonna be here, so I'm gonna actually go kind of close to the top in the corner, and then on a count of 3, just 1, 2, 3, set it down somewhere in there, and then give a good press. Okay, we're gonna wait a moment and allow that ink to get happy with the paper underneath. Okay, if you've stamped a lot and you know there's places that don't get very good contact, lift up one hand and push in that area. Okay, and then lift away, and then you have a nice image. If it doesn't come out nice, the nice thing is you can get markers and cover it up. But we actually got a really good impression on that, so I'm happy. Which reminds me, we will need like a Sharpie, a fine point Sharpie pen, okay, to do our trees. And then now we can go in with the color. So for this, I use my makeup brushes that I bought specifically for art. These ones are by Echo Tools. They're super compact bristles. I wish they weren't so expensive. I do want more. They're easy clean. You just swirl them on a rag to make sure you've got everything off. Flip your project over. You can test it, and I can see it's got a little bit of yellow in there. Okay, nice and clean, super fabulous. Okay, so now we're going to look at our, I would have my phone open if this was the first time I was doing this. Have the phone open, and I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna put you on pause because I lost my good one of these. Hold on. Okay, so you would have your reference material. So if this was the first time I was doing this, I would have my cell phone open and I would be watching it, okay? And I would say, okay, what do we want to do first? I am going to just circle where I want my moon sun. So I'm going to tap on some yellow. I'm going to tap it off because I really don't want it too bright or dark this time because I had it too dark. So I want to put that right there. Okay, and you may not be able to see it, but there is a nice little hint. Then I'm going to go on a bigger circle. Okay. And now I've got this yellowy circle with this little white area in the middle. I'm going to make sure we are in frame. Okay. So you can see it's kind of white right there. And then we have a bigger yellow area. And that's all I'm going to do for that. I just want to know where that's going to be. Okay. I'm going to clean this. Bye-bye, ink. Okay, and then we're going to get the bigger brush because we have a lot of gray area. See, we have a lot there. We have a lot here, all through here. And then to do this part here, remember I did a red first and then put it down and it was just too much. I mixed them on the board first to get this. So I also had a light gray down first. So we're just basically going to cover this all in gray. So we're going to get our gray. We're going to ink this bad boy up. Oh, and I stuck my finger in it. That's all right. You see right here, I'm notorious for this. That right there, I'm not going to worry about it because I can just make sure that when I do a tree, it's going to have a branch right there. So we're going in. And this process here is a lot of buildup. Okay. You can see it's slowly coming in and filling in the whole paper. My paper, this particular one, is the Nina Solar Crest 80 pound. You can use any that you have on hand. Anything thicker than copier paper. Let's put it that, okay? But the finer the paper, the smoother it is, the better your blending is going to be. Also, it's not squishing it in there. It's a light, feathery, blendy motion. You don't have to hurt yourself trying to get it in there. And then when you want it darker, you just focus. Focus on that area. I think I need to re-ink that. I've used these colors so much. It might be time. And I want my corners extra dark. Okay. I want that vignette, like they modified the photo and put in those dark corners. Different brushes, tools give different effects. Okay. So it's a preference. For this, I'm liking this tool. Okay. And now that we got that, and you know, we also need a darker gray or even black towards the end. I had my distressed black soot out. It's a darker gray. I gotta pull that back out. And then I'm not liking how this kind of drops off and then has another dark spot. So I'm just gonna go back in, get that a little bit more even. Okay, and you see I didn't mind going into the windows. I tried to stay out of there. I tried very hard to stay out of there. which was easy enough to do, but I didn't mind catching into the yellow a little bit. Okay, so there's that. Now we're going to come in and define our hill, okay? So we get a smaller brush, and if you don't have a brush and you're using your inking tools, you would just put the ink on the tip, okay? And you tap it off, and then you would just go in with it on the tip and kind of go in holding your whole brush at an angle to get that fine cut line, okay? So again, you can use any tool to accomplish this. It would just turn out a little bit different. Oh, there's the soot. Okay, so here at the door, you can see they already threw in a bright, because the door's open. It's going to cast a brightness, okay? Just like opening your door in the dark, and it lights a little path. I'm going to take this brush and scoop it, so I'm inking up the side here. So I'm setting it down at a heavy angle and dragging it across, and then laying it down with that ink on that side. Just gonna put some ink in there. I definitely need to ink that up. And then I'm bending. Before I get to that door, I'm bending. Okay, and now I'm going to come on the other side of the door, and I'm going to bend straight away. Okay, so then I have these two dark areas with this light area in the middle. And then this is just my shadow casting to show that it's a hill. So we want it arching. We don't want it straight down. That will be like a cliff. We want it arching like a hill. Okay, but our hill actually comes over and then down. I went up just a little too far. That's okay. I'll make it work. So I went into my moon area just a little. So I will just adjust that hill. And just going in, scratchy motions, nothing fabulous. Okay. Because we're going to go over that with some blue. I want it darker over here. Shoot it down this way for my hill. Tipping it back and forth, trying to get some of that ink off of there. Gives a nice little shadow. And then we need more definition over here, so we're gonna do the same thing. Oops, didn't tap off very good right there. I'll darken that up to hide that blotchy spot I just made. And I've got a line of brightness between those two spots, and I don't want that. I want that more uniformed. Okay, so almost. There we go. Okay, so now we've done our arching. We've brought our brush down this way. We've brought our brush down this way. Gave ourselves a nice hill. Okay, looking pretty good. And we're going to put some of this down, okay? And this one doesn't show up very well, but it makes an impact, let me tell you. And then we're going to grab the red or purpley color. If you're using straight red, just use less of it, okay? There we go. And I'm going to get my medium brush, and I'm going to pack it with the brown or the gray first. Okay, which almost looks brown, but I think it's just the way it's shady. And then I'm going to pick up just a little bit of this red and blend it in there. And then I'm going to start swirling it in the middle. Okay. So it's lightly mixed with the brown, and we're going to go straight across the middle. And it's a build-up process. I always start with a little. It's always easier to add than it is to take away. Same thing. Build up the brown, pick up some red, come in this way, pick up some more of the reddish. Okay. Our little misty area. And we have it really heavy right here. So I'm going to add a little bit more without, oops, wrong color. That's all right. We're going to add a little bit more without the brown. Right in the centery part. All right, and then we're gonna go and mix these back up and use them up, back and forth, just so nothing goes to waste. And if you're doing multiple cards, like after I'm done with this video, I'll do all the gray, move on to the next panel, do all the gray after I stamp out all the houses, and then do like a little production line, okay? We're going to clean our area with the same brush, okay? You can give it a little bit of cleaning, nothing, because it's dark. I mean, I didn't even really have to clean it. Okay, now we're going to follow all of that gray, okay? And you can see right away, it just darkens that right up. Woo! Isn't that lovely? And then we don't mind if it gets in the windows, just not this front door. Okay. Really heavy in the corners. Make sure your fingers are clean. Swirly motions. Get them swirled in there. You can drag it back and forth. Okay. Projects like this, definitely tap off. We don't want any streaks. We want it all nice and feathery. Right into that red. Okay. Now you can see I stayed out of there because I'm going to take a moment on that and I'm going to add in some yellows. Okay. Here I want to make sure that my brush is super duper clean. Okay, we're going to do a simple run on the back. Okay. Definitely make sure the blue's out of here. Again, if you're doing mass production and you've got your big puddles of color, get it wet, clean it with some scrap paper, you know, pick up those colors. Just for this video to make it faster, I'm not going to do that. So I've got my bright yellow and I'm going to reiterate where I want that. Okay, gonna go a lot of tapping off, just a nice color in here, nothing fancy. Okay, I'm also gonna take this nice bright color, give it a gentle swirl in there, up there, on these little guys, and then down our pathway. Okay, that's one thing I didn't do on this one, was get enough yellow in the pathway. Okay, little tapping, because I don't really want it blended with this brown. I just kind of want it to lay on the top. Okay. So we have the nice bright in there. Nice bright up against there. Clean my brush. Clean that. And then these two are my darker ones. This one's going to be a little bit darker. Okay. And I'm going to come over by the house. I was a little too heavy-handed there, but that's okay. I'm going to put a tree there. It'll be beautiful. And it's going to be patchy, so I don't care that I'm like all over the place with it, except for that right there. Super soft hand to wiggle that out. Maybe I can't get it out, and that's okay. We're going to go to a darker one. Going now I'm going to pull this darker one into my grays, and that I will let blend a bit. Just let it blend a little bit, because we don't want it to turn green, because remember we put some blue in there. I'm going to pull into the gray. Super light, super gentle. Okay. So that's our start. I'm going to go over it some more with some of the blue. I'm not 100% happy with how it's turning out. And I think I just need to go over that yellow a little bit. I think I had too much yellow up in there. Okay. And that's looking good. That's looking better. I'm liking that. Well, most of that. I'm going to go super I think my gray's a little off right there. Oh, that's better. Okay, so I like that much better. Okay, make sure I put the cap on the right one. All right. See, and our little yellow spot's almost all gone. So here's how we're gonna do our trees. I'm gonna put this down so I don't it's really hot up here. So I don't want to be all sweaty on my project. So I'm just going to cover that up. Now I'm going to see if I can zoom in just a hair for you. Boo, boo, boo. Okay. So this is what I do. Okay. There is a clear stopping point, which I don't really like that. Okay. So I'm just going to drag it out. And I'm purposefully not being straight, and then I'm giving some little flicks for some grass right there, a couple of little flicks there, and then this is the top, because there's a little smidgel of a line, so that's the top of the line. I'm going to gradually pull it out to an angle so it's no more harsh dead stop. Okay, now we're going to decide where we want our trees. This one, I had a tree here and a tree over here, but I need this tree to be closer to catch this little boo-boo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow this line right here down at an angle so that it meets this line. Okay, and then we're just going to color it in. Keep it nice and full of color. We don't want any white spots. That's what's going to throw it off. Okay. Now this tree, a tree is two lines that make a Y. You go up on one and not straight. Do not make it straight. One and then Y this way, and then the other one, and then Y this way. Okay. Vary the heights. So this one starts there, this one starts here. Okay. Then you're going to come up the middle. Okay. So this one you're going to connect there. This one you're going to connect there. Doesn't matter where. Just pick two different areas, and then you're going to color it in nice and dark. No lines. Unless, of course, it's a tree with bark, and then you want lots of lines. So I'm going to pick right about here, and I'm going to go up with some squiggle, and I'm going to start making my turn so that I can aim for that mark that was right there. And then I'm going to come up with this one, and I'm going to shoot off to the other side, right off the page. I'm going to come right down the center, and then I'm going to fork it that way. I'm going to come down a little bit and fork it the other way. And then I'm going to pick where I want these to join. So that one's going to join there. This one's going to come down a little, and it's going to join there. And what I did here is when I went to join, I kept going up and made a little flick. Go up, make a flick at the end. When you're making your branches, you don't want to draw and stop, because it leaves a dull blub, which is fine if you're doing a tree with new stuff, you know. So you want to draw and flick, okay? You don't want to just stop. You're going to draw and then lift it with a flick. And hopefully your pen is not almost dying like mine is. Now, this is a little weird. I have just a straight here. But then I noticed this was kind of speaking to me, and it started to kind of go up. So we're going to follow that and bring it up and widen the base of this branch. Then we're going to go in, put a little curve there. So some roots are headed that way. Then we're going to curve it that way for roots going that way. And then we're going to color it in. Oh my goodness. Need to get some more Sharpies. Need to color this in. Okay. Now trees are a great thing. You can go anywhere you want. So I've got this little blub here. So I'm just going to do some squiggle and flick, squiggle and flick. Branch out your tips. Anything that wiggles out, put another branch on. Okay. Just make sure everything's connected. Because if they're not connected, then it looks weird. And they can overlap. That's another nice thing. You can do light ones. The light ones show that they're in the back. Okay, and there we have a tree. So then you can decide if you want another tree, or if you want a tree. I put a tree here. I don't know if I want that. Oh, I don't know if I want that. Let me get my brush liner. Okay, brush liner, where did you go? Papermate, I hate those pens. Fine liner. Artist Loft. Should have left it out. Oh, here's one. So if we get a brush one, we can fill it in much faster. Okay, same thing. You're going to start off at an angle, go in like a triangle, then shoot out. And no, that one's garbage. Gotta love that. Okay, fine liner. Those ones really suck. Artist Loft, not those. Ah, brush. That's what we were looking for. Okay. And then this one, I'm going to come off the side. And then this one's just going to have the middle, and then this little guy off the side. Okay. And then the same thing, we do thin ones. Oops. And just make sure they're connected. Maybe this one's a really sickly tree, so it's only got a couple. Okay, and then just fill it in because it's a silhouette. If you have silhouette tree stamps, that would be perfect for this kind of card. Okay, and I may leave that to dry and then go over it again because I don't like how patchy it is. Yep, it's not drying very well. Okay, so we're going to be careful in that corner there. All right, so there is that part of the card. Fabulous. So now we need our X-Acto knife. We need our cloud bit, which I used our cloud bit, but I have this piece. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do a cloud. Let me grab a pencil. I think I do. Okay, so if this was coming off of that way, and then we just had a nice squiggle, right? Nothing fancy, just a squiggle, because clouds are not perfect. So we come down and we just follow a squiggle. Okay, so there's our squiggle. And then the line isn't going to be so huge because I downsized on that, but we do need enough to cover. And if his feetsies show, that's all right. So we're going to do maybe, we're going to round out this front part here. And then we're going to go like, I don't know, a half an inch to an inch. We're going to work in that kind of area. So it's going to be fatter in some spots. Okay. Okay, so this is going to hang off there. And you're like, we just drew that tree. Yep, and that's perfect because the bottom of the tree shows there. That's going to go across there. I like it. I like it more like that. Ooh, I like it more like that, I think. See, that ink is not drying very well. Ooh, I should have tested it first. That's all right. So our cloud is gonna be this purpley, blue, gray, hazy, just like we did before. Okay, it's not gonna use as much purple. We're gonna put that in the middle with some of the gray. I had too much purple there. I just said not too much purple. What do I do? Pick up some more of that. Right down the center. Super light brushing. Okay. And I'm going to put you on pause because that's just too much ink to waste. Woohoo, I'm glad I cleaned that up. I had this stenciled and waiting for, I wasn't sure what else to do with it. And so I just added some purple, and then I think I'll go in and add some gray or black another day with some specks. So use up your inky stuff. Okay, back to this little bitty. And I'm not worried about that because I'm going to cover that with our gray. We're going to go in heavy with the gray. We're definitely going to pull some of that in. We're going to pull in some of the blue. Okay, so we're going to go with the gray right around the edges. And it's still got some of that purple in it. I'm not worried about that. Well, I wasn't too worried. It's a little too much gray now. Or purple. It's all right. We'll fix it. We'll go over it with the blue. There we go. And go right over all of that. Our little as Mr. Bob Ross would say, our happy little cloud. Our little mist. Alright. Okay, so I think we're, oh, no, we're not. We need this a little darker right there. Okay. Then we're going to come in with some of our blue. We're going to do a lot of blue towards the bottom. Okay. For the shadow. And I'm just going to use this blue that's on the table and go over all of it. Okay. Because the sun's coming in, so it's going to be brighter on the top. And now we're going to come in with the hickory smoke, black soot, something really dark and yummy. Oops, and just hit that in the bottom. We're going to see how that looks. Ooh, yeah, look at that. See, we have the purple in there and the blue. Oh, yeah. Okay. While we have that out, I always do the blacks and the grays last because they are the hardest to clean. And I got a little bit of water on that when I was doing my other project. That's all right. And then I'm probably going to hit this with the heat tool just to make sure everything's set. No, stay over there. And I'm going to be careful in this corner because I like this little blue right there. All right. There we have it. And then we're going to have that right there. Ooh, okay, I'm going to hit this with the heat tool and clean my mess. I'll be right back. All right. I forgot to grab out my little dude. So here's our little dude. He is, get out of my way. He's going to hang out here. So we can move him up and down a little bit as he's walking. And I only want him walking so far. So what we're going to do is put in our cut line. So this little cloud is going to be hanging out here. We need a stopping point because I have my foam tape that you have to have a foam tape around the back side so that the mechanism can slide easily. And then we're going to have foam tape on this to help it pop up and keep everything sliding easily. And my foam tape is the Arteza stuff and it's not too terribly thick. So if I start here, okay, if I do this, okay, I know that if I go from here, and you can get a ruler, you can do whatever you need to do, but honestly, you don't need that. And you just want to go for a few inches. I'm going to stop him here. Okay, we're going to make sure that it cut all the way through. And then we're going to do another line fairly close, but not too close, because we don't want it to rip easy. Right above it, same length. If one is longer than the other, it's all right. Okay, we're going to double check that they are good. Okay, then we're going to get our little strip that we had from trimming our paper. Okay, we're going to come through the back. Okay, oops, through the back, through the bottom. Okay, we're going to weave it over the top, but back. No, that's not right. Okay, we're going to come in through the back on the top. There we go. Okay, and then we're going to fold it over and tuck it in on the bottom. There we go. Okay. And then if we pull that down and pinch it flat. Okay. So now we have this. That's what's moving. And it's not a lot, and we don't need, it's just a little card. Okay. So we're going to pull that up just a little here, and we're going to glue this guy right there so that he will walk with that. Okay. So that'll work. Okay. We're going to grab our super sticky tape because I don't want this to accidentally come off. And what I'm going to do is, when I had my little dude here, I noticed that he's either stuck out in the front or stuck out in the bottom of the back. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut in a tiny bit on both sides. And then I'm going to cut it off. Help me! Look, I made a little dude. Okay, so we're going to pop those off. Okay, so now we have this. Okay. And no, I'm not measuring. It's, you know, just something fun and simple. We're going to grab our super sticky tape. We're going to grab our super sticky tape scissors because we don't want to muck up our good scissors. And we need a piece to go across the top there and across the bottom. Okay. Of course, that one's too big for that. So we're going to slide this out just a little bit and put that piece as close to the edge as possible. Don't mind me, my fingers are not working for me today. Come on. Okay, let's try this again. Right up to the edge, but not over. Okay, so that's ready to go, and then I need a smaller piece right there to go right here. And if you cut it a little too big, it's no big deal, just trim it. Okay, so there's that. So I'm gonna do this one first. I'm gonna send it back through. Don't peel the backing yet. Get it lifted up. Trim that out. Close that up. Okay. Make sure that it's slippity and slidey. Okay, then we're going to trim this off. Not trim it off, but peel that off. Grab our little dude and make sure he covers. See, if I pull this down so the tape is still sticking out, we want to make sure he's covering the white. Okay, so we've set him on there, and now he can walk. Rawr. And he can go up and down. Okay. Sweet. Okay, now here comes the fun part. How long do we want to make the tab? And you can finesse this so that you don't see that, or make it longer. I should have made it longer. Yep, hold on a minute. All right, sorry about that. So what I did is I actually measured a 5-inch, well, it's a little less than 5 inches, but somewhere in there, 5 inches. And then I've got my tape on the inside that I'm going to expose. And then remember, we're going to put this through the bar like so. Okay, so it's gonna hang over that bar. Okay, the 5 inches, you're gonna tape it at the bottom, and you might find that you want that smaller. I mean, that's all preference, but in the card, if you shove it up. Okay, so this is definitely long enough for small fingers to get a hold of. So there's your 5 inches, glue it at the bottom. I peeled this guy off, and he had the sticky, and I didn't want to rip it off of him, so I just covered it with a powder, flour, baby powder, mica, whatever, and so it's not sticky anymore, because that sticky was not designed for that. And then this strip is only a 1/2 inch. I cut it down the whole length, unlike the other one, because then I would know that this guy would fit right there. So now, there we go. That's better. So he's a walking and jumping. Rawr. Fabulous. Okay, so now that we have that, we need to cover, oh no, let's put that on last. So we have our bat. Now you can do this a couple of ways. You can, if you don't have the die cut, you can fussy cut one of these out and poke a hole in the center. I don't know if these will be, come here. No, that won't be. If you don't have a hole punch per se, you could use a hole punch multiple times to make a hole bigger. So say that was your bat, you punched a hole, okay, and then that would line up. So same thing. So say like I want this little dude, come here little dude. I want this little dude up here spinning around, and I don't mind that he comes off the page, because remember, I still have that little playroom. So I actually like that right there. And so you can do a lot of things. You can have your little piece there, lift that up, and know that right there is where you're going to cut out a hole. And for that, you want your the thicker the better. Okay, so there's my thick pop dot. I want to make sure it's not too big for him. Definitely not. He'll be able to fit right in there. Okay, and so we're just going to cut our hole. And mind you, this is all hidden. Nobody cares. Okay, pop out our hole, and oh, that's just too small. Or like I said, if you have a hole punch, you can work it around and make it work for you. Okay. So he's got a lot of room to play around in that little spin area. Again, that's not big enough for that particular pop dot. Ooh, let go. Just don't get it too close to the edge. Okay. Don't make it too big. Don't get too wild. But he still covers that. And then my pop dot fits in there better. So I'm going to put one side of the pop dot on our little critter. Gonna put it through the hole. Okay, so he's got a lot of wiggle room in there. Look at that. Then we're gonna peel the backing. Okay, and then all we want is enough paper to keep the dot from going through the hole. Okay, because we don't really want it to show up through the other side either when he's spinning around. So if he's spinning and moving, we don't want this to show on the other side. So check it out, make sure that that's, you know, and then you've got your little spinner. Isn't he cute? Give him a little bit of action going on. This little guy's floating around. That little guy's doing his business. Okay, so now we grab our cloud. We want the dark side underneath. And we want to make sure that this part is butt up to the edge, because that's how it's coming in. And then there he goes. Rawr. You see his little tootsies. That's so cute. Okay, so we can pop all the way up to here. We can pop that up. So that's actually quite a bit of space. And what I'm going to do is turn it over and see where my dinosaur is, and know not to cross this line. We're going to come over here and say, okay, we only have this much because we have that. So on this end, I think I'm just going to use a pop dot. Okay, nothing fancy, just stick a little pop dot there. And on this end, I'm going to use the Arteza tape to give it more stability. We're going to roll it out on its side, measure and snip, flip and stick, measure and snip and stick. There we go. Okay, and then we got that right there. Oh yeah, come on. There we go. Okay, so then we make sure this is lined up really good on this end. Make sure it covers the two lines that we made. Make sure when we set it down, it's not on our little dinosaur. Oh, no, plenty of room. And then pop that down. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. Okay, now here's the fun part. We need to foam this up, because if we stick it down, of course, that's not going to be able to spin. Okay, so we need space. And so what we're going to do is we're going to pop up the whole back. Okay, we're going to measure up to the spinner. We're going to give the spinner a lot of room though. We don't want to accidentally get it stopped. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in the back. Okay. And I will be back with you shortly, because this is going to take me a minute. My hands are being shaky again. All right. So I have my 5x7 base, and I have my 5x7 panel, which I'm going to merge them first. It'll be easier than trying to apply all of it. Normally, if you've seen I don't have that many videos, but if you've seen my videos, I'm a less is more type of tape and glue person. Unless, and this is one of those unless cases, I have a big hefty panel that I'm going to apply that people can actually interact with. So I don't want this to pop off the card, because this is our stability. So I'm just going to place this panel on here. Hopefully. Okay. And again, it doesn't matter what kind of background paper. You can just ink it, put some glitter cardstock, anything you want behind, okay? And as I was taping this, I left this entire, because we don't want anything interacting with this. So we don't want a piece of tape here blocking that up. I spun this around to make sure that when it moves, it's not going to hit these. So if your little piece of paper is bigger, keep these further away. You want a good 1/2 inch around everything, okay? Same with this. Nice movie area. So then we get to flip and stick and pray that we get it down in one good swoop, because that is going to be it. Once it's down, it's not going anywhere. And there it is. I'm going to flip and press. Okay. I'm so proud of it. Look at that little, even though this foam is thicker than the Arteza foam, okay, that's perfect, because then it raises this up, it gives it depth, okay, it's spinning around beautifully. Then we've got our popping out of the clouds, he's just walking along. Rawr. Now, whichever niece or nephew gets this one, they'll get these two here, and then they'll get a couple of the extra ones for the whole set on the inside, so that they can like play with them, or if they want to make their own scene, they can do that. And then I'll put a little sentiment in there and ship it off. But it's pretty simple, huh? Very, I love it. I love it when a plan comes together. Well, I do thank you so much for hanging out with me today and trying out some new stuff. And, you know, I should have made this strip out of the pattern paper. Oh, you know what? We'll just put a little dude on there. Let's see. We'll give this to a nephew, so we'll put a little dude, and then we'll do them all with dudes and dudettes. And it doesn't matter what we use, because we're not going to ink that part. Make sure he's going to stamp good. Nope, just a little bit more. Oh, there we go. So what I'll do is I'll clean the edges. Okay. And if I mess it up, don't worry. I'll redo it. Stamp down. Yeah. All right. So you can use pattern paper, ink this up, whatever you need to do. And there you go. 2 different stamp sets, some color inking, your own little pattern, a couple of little hand-drawn trees, and you have a homemade Halloween card for the little ones. Oh my gosh, I don't believe I just dropped it. Whew, I'm lucky. I only got a speck. Whew, dropsy fingers. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.